Hey everyone, got a pretty fun tutorial here that actually took me a while to figure out and took the help of Prosaic Muse again, but like my last tutorial, but it's pretty cool. It's exactly what I wanted to figure out. So it's basically just a Marine with a shotgun, and I'm going to demo it right away. So if I see this little Zergling here, I can shoot him down with my shotgun if this lag spike finishes. Yeah. When he gets closer, it's harder to see. Let me find a group of units that'll look better. There you can kind of see the shotguns firing out, firing into the massive drones. It's pretty cool feeling when you're shooting it. It actually feels a lot like a shotgun, which is pretty sweet. The data editor is pretty fun like that. I mean, you can set out to make something and you never know how it's going to turn out, and then when it turns out cool, it's a pretty nice feeling. So this tutorial is going to be a relatively advanced tutorial. I think even I had to learn stuff to make this tutorial, so related to actors and beams and stuff, but definitely a good tutorial for people to check out. We're going to learn some pretty advanced stuff. And yeah, why don't we begin by starting up the editor. Okay, so I'm just going to start a new map to do this. So I start on a clean slate as well. But you could do this in your map that you already have. I'm just going to use the basic dependencies and stuff. And from the start, as you can see, we're going to just set up something like I had there. So hit U if you're not on the units layer. For player 1, I'm just going to drop a Marine in the center here. So I have a guy to test, and then for player 15, I'm going to, for Zerg, or I'm going to drop a Zerg unit for player 15, which is going to be a bunch of Zerglings and some drones too, because drones are easier to see the effects of the shotgun. When Zerglings run up to you, that's kind of hard to see. The shotgun bullets kind of spread out kind of crazily when units come close to your guys, so my kind of explanation for that is that it's sort of like bullets ricocheting, maybe. I'm basically just trying to cover up any sort of issues people might have with that, but overall it's a pretty decent shotgun effect, I think so. And some pretty cool stuff we're going to be doing in this tutorial. So, okay, so you got a bunch of hostile units and you got your Marine ready. Once you've done that, we can switch to the data editor, which is pretty much where the rest of this tutorial is going to take part in. So we're going to start out by taking the Marine weapon as it is and just duplicating it. So let's switch to the weapons tab here. If you don't have it, you can find it in here. And let's see, Marine C14 Gauss rifle. Right click it and duplicate. And then we're going to check off Marine attack under actors and Marine Gauss rifle damage under effects. And that's it. So let's start by renaming the actor here to be shotgun attack. And I start from the bottom up generally, and then let's rename Gauss rifle copy for the effect to be shotgun. Hit suggest, hit OK, and we'll leave the Marine and damage prefix and suffix on there. And now let's rename the weapon itself to be shotgun, and hit suggest. And I'll leave Marine on the front of that as well. So right now we basically just have an exact copy of the Gauss rifle, which shoots at a single target. We're going to change the weapon so that it picks several points around your weapon target, and then check if those points hit a unit with a small search effect, and then deal damage if it found a unit where the bullet landed. And it, that's how you kind of simulate it in the back end, but on the front end it looks really cool to the user. And we're going to fire 6 shells with each shot, so I think that's it looks cool as you saw in the demo earlier, and I think it's a decent amount to sort of hit enough targets to look like a shotgun. So let's switch to the effects tab here and make sure you save. I remember one of my tutorials, tutorial working on shotgun. One of my tutorials I lost in the middle, it crashed in the middle of a test, so I had to restart the whole tutorial, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. So let's right click anywhere in here and go add effect, call the shotgun shells, hit suggest, and this is going to be of type set. And that's all we need here. Okay. And we're going to set the maximum count to be 6 and the minimum count to be 6. And we'll add the effects in later, which will be the offsetted bullets around the target. This is going to be the set effect, which is going to be on our weapon. And then this thing will use a persistent, and that'll use a search, and then that'll use a damage. So we'll go into more detail, but that's basically the high-level overview. So anyways, we've got that. So let's right-click again here, and let's add another effect. And let's call it shotgun random offset, hit suggest, and let's change the type to be create persistent, and let's hit OK. So what we want to do for flags plus here is we want to choose create, sorry, not create. We want to choose a random offset. And you'll see in a second why we chose that. Period count is 1. Period durations, we're just going to add 1 in here, which is 0.0, so it happens right away. Period effects, we are going to set that later with our searches and damages. Now for periodic offsets, this is what we want to set to have essentially like enough random values around the target that it looks like your shotgun shell's firing. So what I deemed as a good sort of value is about 2.5 as the maximum and negative 2.5 is the minimum. You just have to add enough numbers in here so that it looks random enough. So let's start by adding like 0, 0, 0, and only x and y, by the way. Don't change the z part. Let's add or let's just copy paste, and I'm going to change this one to be 2, 2. Let's see, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, 2. So I'm covering all the corners. 2, negative 2. Now we got to get pretty wild here and just try a bunch of random numbers. Negative 1, negative 1. Did I copy paste that? Yes, I did. Negative 1 and 2. And in my demo map, I had like 15 of these or so. 2, 0.5, and you could really start playing around with the numbers. 0.3, negative 1.1, but basically just keeping the numbers within a small 2 size radius around the target. This is what basically it means by an offset. So it's going to pick one of these random offsets to where the bullet's going to go around the target. So the bullet could be off in the x by 0.3 and off in the y by negative 1.1. And let's do negative 1 and 0. So I'm gonna keep it as this. You should probably do a bit more, make sure it's more varied and balanced. This might not be enough to make it look perfect, but that's all I'm going to do for here to keep the tutorial shorter. And response flags, let's open that and check off acquire and flee, just to make sure that units do acquire and flee when you shoot. So now back in shotgun shells, we can go to effects plus here, right click, add value, search for shotgun random offset, and then add it 6 times or copy paste. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And now we're going to add another effect, which is going to be the search that happens once. So the shells are, so your weapon's going to fire the shells, which is going to do 6 offsets around the target point or unit or whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then those 6 points are each going to do a little search to see if it hit a unit around it, and then it's going to damage that unit. So let's right click and add a new effect, and let's call the shotgun search targets. Hit suggest, and the effect type is going to be search area, and hit OK. And now for search targets, what we're going to do is first set the response flags to be acquire and flee, just so that we make sure that it alerts any enemy units. Otherwise they might completely ignore the effect if you didn't check those off, which would be bad while you're shooting things. Let's set the maximum count to be 1, because each individual search should only pick on 1 unit. And then let's open search areas plus and right click, add a value. Let's choose the effect to be marine shotgun damage for now. And let's make the radius about 1, I think is good. You could make it smaller if you wanted to be less forgiving with the shotgun bullets. But anyways, that's good enough for now. And then open search filters here, and we need to make sure that the right units are getting searched for. So we need to uncheck ally, neutral, and player. We need to right click on dead and set excluded. We need to right click on hidden and set excluded. We need to right click on invulnerable, exclude it, item, exclude it, missile, exclude it, and stasis is the last one. I think these are generally the things you should always exclude to be safe, because you don't want to, this could actually hit invulnerable units, which would not be desirable for the majority of maps. And yeah, that should be good. So and the other thing, let's see, where's our let me just switch our map here. I'm going to remove marine from shotgun damage, so all these have the same starting name. So for the shotgun damage effect we duplicated earlier, I'm going to remove marine from editor prefix, so that they all kind of are at the same have the same naming convention. And now we're going to switch to the Weapons tab. And let's see, find the Marine Shotgun weapon. And let's see, where is the effect? Here we go. And we're going to put in shotgun shells here. There. So now we got our little chain, as you can see, this nice little chain that's happening here. But there is a small little problem here, which is that, so the shells will use the offset, and the offset now, we need to set the period effects in here to be using our search, which I should have done before we switched to weapons, but not a big deal. So let's right click in here, add a value, and we're just going to choose shotgun search targets. So as you can see now, if I go back to weapons, now we have a better chain in here. So you can see that what happens is the weapon is going to fire the shotgun shells. Shotgun shells is a set which is going to fire 6 of the random offset effects. So 6 of these is going to run, and each one's going to choose a random offset, and to that offset that it happens, it's going to do a search target. The search target is going to find any enemy units within 1 with a radius of 1 from its target point, and do a shotgun damage to a maximum of 1 of those found units. And that's pretty much the whole sort of explanation of everything in the chain. But now we can finally move on to the last part of the mathematical side of this, which is go to the units here, switch back to all data, find the Marine, and for the Marine we need to change his weapon to be our new weapon. So instead of his old weapon here under combat weapons, we're going to change it to be Marine Shotgun, which is the new one that we made. Now we're pretty much done, but there's 2 things that I want to change before. Well, we're pretty much done with the mathematical side, like I mentioned, but not with the visual and audio part. But 2 things I want to change before we do that. So for the Marine here, let's change his stats life maximum to be 4,000, just so we can test properly, and life starting amount to be 4,000 as well, just so we can test properly without dying in 5 seconds. And for the weapon itself, back in the weapons tab here, I'm going to increase the period to like maybe 1.4, so that shotguns generally fire slower, so it kind of makes it seem more like a shotgun. He shouldn't be firing every 0.86 seconds. 1.4 seconds is a bit more realistic for a shotgun, I think. And the target filters I'm going to leave the same. But now let's do some crazy advanced actor stuff here to get the visual side working. So if I switch back to just our map on the Actors tab here, clear the Marine from the search bar, we can see our shotgun attack, which we duplicated earlier. We need to change some things so it doesn't sound like a Marine so much. It needs to sound more like a shotgun shot rather than a Gauss rifle. So at the top here, we're going to change the attack effect field token here from shotgun damage to shotgun search targets. And then for combat launch assets, so that's going to change the events in here and the container assets and whatever else automatically, I think. So not a big deal because we'll be doing some custom beam stuff in a second, but we need to change that from damage to be search targets. Now combat launch assets, where is that? Here, this is what plays when the shots are first fired. So art can stay the same, but sound I want to change to the Reaper _ attack launch. It sounds like a shotgun, which is pretty sweet. Because I don't think there's any actual shotgun unit in StarCraft 2, so the Reaper's one actually sounds pretty close. And target impact map, this is where we also change, click on the first row, this is where we change what happens when it hits the target. So for art, I'm going to choose Ghost, Snipe, Attack, Impact, and for sound, I'm going to choose Reaper, Attack, Impact. And the reason I chose the Ghost thing is because we're going to be using the Ghost's Snipe bullet beam that you saw in my demo earlier. That's what we're using as the Ghost's beam, so it looked pretty sweet as a shotgun, I'd have to say. So everything's good now, except we have no actual bullet line, bullet trace, or beam as it's called in StarCraft 2. We just have the launch and impact effects right now. And the only way to, so there is an art beam field here, but which is set actually to nothing, which we can't use because it's only used for units. So the problem with setting the ghost beam in here, I found, is that if you're shooting 6 units, it's fine, but if you're shooting 1 Zergling, it'll only show that 1 tracer to that Zergling. It won't show the 5 other shells that went off in random directions. And as you saw in my demo, even when I was fighting 1 Zergling, 6 shells were firing every time. And so we can't really use this field here. The only solution that we can do is to use our own custom beam and a sight actor. So I'll explain that in a second. So let's right click in the actor list here. and let's go add actor, and let's name this shotgun beam impact site. Hit suggest, change the actor type to be site, just a basic site, and then hit OK. And sites are basically just locations, I believe. I mean, this is all new to me yesterday, so I actually had to learn quite a bit with the help of Prosaic Muse and SCII Mapster. But a site is basically just a location that exists when you set some events for it. So it'll exist when our shotgun fires in a second, and then you can use the beam to kind of place it based on those sites. It seems a bit complex, and I agree it is a bit complex, but it's the only way I know how to get this working. So I couldn't find a simpler way. So in here, let's change the host site operations plus, double click on disabled, and add a new one in here, hit the green X, and add SOP target point, and hit OK. And now the event, so when this site will actually be created. So open the events, right click, add an event, message type is effect, source name is shotgun search targets, and subname is start. And we want to right click on the event again and go add term, change the term type to at, and change the at to be an effect. So when the shotgun search happens, we want at the effect to then, instead of action impact, we want to create, if that makes sense. So this impact site will be where the search happens at the bullet spot, and we want to create this site, which is the impact site, which the beam will use in a second. So now this impact site is good. Now we need a launch site actor. So let's right click, add actor, call this shotgun beam launch site, and hit suggest. And the actor type is going to be a site as well. However, it's based off of site unit. And this is something I learned from the Colossus's weapon. So if you look at the Colossus, you can actually figure this stuff out too. But it's still pretty complex to actually figure it out and be like, oh, now it finally works. There was a lot of trial and error. But anyways, for this launch site, all we need to do is go into host site operations here. And I don't know why it has that already. But we want to change it to SOP attach weapon. I don't know why it had that one already, but the one I made it yesterday actually didn't. That was weird. But yeah, we want to just change it from overhead to SOP attach weapon. So the launch site, as you can see, will be the weapon of the marine our marine who's firing. So last we're going to copy the ghost snipe beam. So switch data back to all data, search for ghost. Wow, it's a lot of stuff. Ghost snipe attack beam down at the bottom here. We're just going to copy paste it, not even have to duplicate, and then I'm going to switch data back to all data. And now let's double click and rename it to be shotgun beam. Hit suggest, hit OK. Now for the shotgun beam, the model is good, but for host impact plus, this is where we have to change a few things, and also in the launch and events. But first for impact plus here, and this is something I learned from the Colossus. So what we want to do for this is just switch the subject to be actor, and then choose shotgun beam impact site. So now you can see sort of how these three actors are coming together. The beam's going to, well, we're going to set the events in a second, but the beam's going to create itself, find the two impact and launch sites that we made here, and then connect itself between those two. So the host impact plus is set. Now we need to open host launch plus. And here we set the actor to creation, set the scope to scope caster, and set the subject to actor again, and choose shotgun beam launch site. And I have no idea what these first two things did because I just copied it from the Colossus, but I got it working that way, so that's all I can really say about that. But now in events is the last thing we need to do, and it's sort of similar to our event for the impact. Right click, add an event. Event type is effect. Source name is shotgun search targets. Start. Right click, add a term at the effect, and then change action impact to be create. There we go. So this beam will create itself when that shotgun search happens. It's going to position itself at its launch point at the weapon of the caster. I guess that's what the scope means. And then it's going to position its target sort of endpoint at the impact location, which got created at the search target as well. And that's basically it. So let's go test, and I'll do a recap. Okay, let's find our marine here. I'm going to shoot at the drones first. Boom. Yeah, you can see the nice shotgun shells are firing out. It looks really cool, actually. And you can see even when he only has one target down here, it still fires the shells out to nowhere because of the way we set up the beam, which looks really cool, I think. Now let's fight some Zerglings. Now you notice when they get really close, the shotgun things kind of fly off crazily in directions. It kind of looks like ricocheting though, so I think it's fine personally, but it's because the unit's so close and it's finding random target points around you, which might be behind you, but not a big deal. I mean, like this, it looks really cool, I think. So yeah, it's basically just, if I can explain it again, I mean, basically just when you fire the weapon, it shoots off that set effect, which chooses 6 points around that target point. And then those points do a little search to see if there's a unit there and then damage it. And that's basically it. So I think it's a cool way to do a shotgun. Obviously, as you can see, I can shoot through this drone and he doesn't get hit because we're not doing like collision checking or anything. But yeah, other than that, pretty cool, cool little weapon here. And thanks for watching. Let me know if you find any bugs with the tutorial or any comments about it. And that's it.